What's up everyone, and welcome back to Nexus. When you think of hidden treasure, you probably think of pirates sailing the seven seas and digging chests up on hot sandy beaches. But in the real world, the most interesting treasure is usually hidden under ice. From ancient, extinct fossils never seen before, to entire mountain ranges hidden from sight, the under ice world is full of treasure and items that are shrouded in mystery. So in today's video, we'll be taking a look at the top 10 mysterious things that have been found frozen in ice. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get new content similar to this every day. Also, make sure to comment down below letting us know which number on this list was your favorite. And for this video, let's aim for that golden like button, which is 1,000 likes, so make sure to drop a like down below. Number 10. We don't exactly sacrifice people in the modern day world anymore. We know that most things happen due to natural reasons. The days pass and seasons change, and if a crop fails, it isn't because of godly intervention. Back in the days of the Incas, that knowledge wasn't common. Instead, people were routinely sacrificed, some in quick and bloody ways, and others in slow and cruel ones. The Ice Maiden died at the top of a sacred mountaintop. After weeks of being drunk and drugged up, this 13-year-old virgin girl and the 2 children that were found with her would have been left to freeze to death at the top of the mountain in a tomb. 500 years later, she and her companions were found, perfectly preserved in the ice.
A study done on hair cuttings buried with the girl revealed that her hair was elaborately braided just before she died, perhaps as part of the sacrificial ceremony.
Let me see if there's any hair that's...
It's time to take a sample of the doncella's 500-year-old hair.
Hey, look. This is a white hair. Look, she had white hair. That's the doncella's hair.
Number 9. When you think of rhinos, you probably think of giant armored things running around the plains of Africa chasing lions or something. You wouldn't expect them to be running around in Siberia and covered in hair from head to toe. Well, the woolly rhino is a very real thing, and a baby one called Sasha was preserved in the ice and eventually found by hunters in 2014. At first, the hunters thought it was some sort of deformed dead reindeer, which I guess I can understand because seriously, who would expect a hairy rhino in Siberia? They decided to take the body to the Academy of Sciences, where it was indeed identified as a woolly rhino. This species is incredibly rare, and the fact it was found in such good shape because of its preservation under the ice is incredible and has allowed scientists a unique new view into the hairy animals of the past. Number 8. All animals have to eat. For humans, a meal is a chance to sit down and talk with the family, to relax and enjoy the flavors. Out there in the wild world of animals, eating is a much more brutal and dangerous situation. Unlike humans, who farm and process their food to be bought at stores, animals risk their own lives by hunting for their food. Sometimes it doesn't all go to plan for the hunter. In this footage, we can see a pike and a bass locked in a deadly dance of death. The pike managed to kill and begin to eat the bass, but its eyes were too big for its belly. Because halfway through choking the other animal down, the bass died. It then drifted up to the surface, its prey still lodged in its mouth, and became frozen in the surface ice. Sure, finding 1 frozen fish in a lake might be pretty ordinary, but finding 2? That's just weird. Number 7. Have you ever heard of cryogenics? It's the idea that people or other living beings could be deep frozen and then thawed out at a future date. Well, it turns out that freezing doesn't just keep big life forms frozen and alive, it keeps little things alive too, as small as bacteria. In the ice of the Yamal Peninsula in Siberia, a bacteria had been lurking deep under the frozen earth. But with rising temperatures, that frozen earth has slowly begun to thaw. Hidden underneath the layers of dirt was a dead reindeer, which had laid there more than 75 years. Within the body of this reindeer, perfectly preserved, laid the deadly disease anthrax. Due to the cold temperatures, the anthrax within the reindeer had been put into a sort of hibernation, but as the soil began to melt and warm up, the anthrax warmed up too. Reindeer grazing nearby became ill from freshly warmed up anthrax, and that caused infectious spores to spread across the wild of the tundra even further. Scientists predict that there will be even more cases of frozen anthrax resurfacing in the future. making this entry in our list probably one of the most dangerous things buried under the ice. Number 6. Freezing to death is probably one of the worst ways to die, and for those who fought at Peyo in the mountains of northern Italy during World War I, it was a very real threat. The White War was the third front of the First World War, and was really a completely new type of warfare. Never before fighting at such altitudes had been conducted in the theater of modern warfare, and so the Austrians carved an entire infrastructure of trenches into the ice walls and caves of the mountains. As time went on after the war ended, those trenches were buried by snow and ice. Eventually, the world began to get warmer, and as of 1990, more and more debris of the White War have been revealed by the receding glaciers in the area. Of course, among the tables and chairs and letters to loved ones, there were bodies. Preserved perfectly within the ice, these Austrian soldiers had been killed in the crossfire and left to freeze over. Of course, bullets were not the only thing soldiers had to fear in the mountains. They also feared the White Death. This is what the soldiers called death by avalanche, and it was something that had killed thousands of lives throughout the course of World War I. From guns to bodies to more letters from scared soldiers on the front lines, there is no telling what else might emerge from the icy walls of the mountains in the coming years.
Past several years, evidence of their battles, in the form of letters, diaries, and other personal items, have been emerging from the ice. More recently, the bodies of those who perished have begun to surface. Many have been found mummified by the ice and have since been moved to proper burial grounds. Along the way, they stop at the lab of a forensic anthropologist in Vicenza in hopes that their identities can be discovered. Most often, they end up in unmarked graves. What remains of their legacy, including love letters, machine instructions, and newspaper clippings, is displayed in Peyo's War Museum.
Number 5. When you think of mountains, you probably think of Alps or Everest. You probably don't think of mountains that are buried beneath the ice of Antarctica. The Gamberstev Mountains are over 100 million years old, and according to scientists, the evidence suggests that they shouldn't be there at all. These mountains are so strange that the scientists working in the area actually believe that they could be the cause of Antarctica freezing over in the first place. It is thought that the ice began at the peaks of these mountains and then slowly spread to bury the entire continent. But it isn't just the mountains hidden beneath the ice. It's a large and vibrant landscape of rocky summits, deep river valleys, and lakes of liquid water, all below the frozen landscape. Scientists have no idea what the mountains are doing there, or how they were formed, or even how they appear to be so well formed and young looking despite their age. These mountains are more than 8,000 feet tall, but it's all hidden deep beneath ice that is over a mile thick. Number 4. While global warming and receding glaciers is definitely something to be worried about, for archaeologists, it gives the chance to study unique new findings that never would have been found when the ice was still thick and solid. One such glacier is slowly melting away in southern Chile, and has given archaeologists a unique look at 46 different fossils from 4 different species of ichthyosaurus. Their name basically translates to fish lizards. And it's thought that 46 of them found in the ice were killed between 245 and 90 million years ago in a series of mudslides. The dinosaurs were so well preserved within the ice that some even still retain soft tissue, and one female of the group had a fossil embryo within it. The fish lizards likely hunted in prehistoric underwater canyons near the coastline, but frequent mudslides would have been a danger. And like an avalanche of dirt, this roaming group of underwater reptiles would have been caught and sucked into the deep sea, where their bodies were entombed, and eventually frozen, only later to be found by archaeologists as the Chilean glaciers continue to recede. Number 3. When you think of Antarctica, you likely think of ice that never ends, stretching deep below the surface to a thin layer of ground below, or something like that. Well, this isn't really the case. Deep below the ice are a series of hidden lakes, and one of them has finally been accessed by a team of Russian scientists. Lake Vostok is a pristine lake of fresh water as large as Lake Ontario that has been hidden beneath the sheets of Antarctica's ice for over 20 million years. Scientists are hoping that the lake will contain ancient bacterial life that has been kept alive and separate from the outside world in their lake. If they find what they are looking for, the scientists will have a better idea on what life might be like in the frozen ice crust of Mars, the frozen moon of Jupiter called Europa, and the ice moon of Saturn, Enceladus. It could change the way we think about life and what conditions life can thrive in on smaller scales, and could be one step further into discovering life on other worlds altogether.
Vostok Research Base in Antarctica. It is the coldest place on Earth and the deepest drilling location on the continent.
The main research was to drill the glacier ice as deep as possible to get these tiny bubbles of air, which was preserved for about 400,000 years.
At a certain point, researchers made a new discovery, Lake Vostok. A team of Russian scientists have drilled more than 2 miles into the ice.
Number 2. It's very hard to be sure whether life on other planets exists. I mean, we can't exactly go to other worlds to check them out. So whenever meteorites form from the rocks of other worlds end up on planet Earth, scientists take their opportunity to learn everything they possibly can. Back in 1996, a meteorite that came from Mars over 3.6 billion years ago suggested that life, in its early forms, may have actually existed on the red planet. At this time, it is generally thought that the red rock was more blue, with liquid oceans existing on its surface. While scientists didn't find actual fossils or anything like that in the rock, they found large amounts of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which is a mineral compound that is normally associated with microscopic organisms and fossil structures. It isn't the smoking gun that proves alien life for sure exists, but it's close, and it was found in the ice of Antarctica after falling down to Earth. Number 1. In 1991, a corpse was found in the mountains between Austria and Italy. It wasn't a fresh corpse, and it wasn't part of some murder mystery. This corpse was around 5,300 years old, and scientists called him Otzi the Iceman. This man was from the Copper Age and is the oldest natural human mummy from Europe. There's a lot that has been learned from Otzi's corpse over the years, but the coolest and strangest thing is that this Iceman actually has relatives that are still alive right now. Scientists have found at least 19 genetic relatives of Otzi in the Tyrol region of Austria. It just goes to show how long a family can go on for, and can continue living in one part of the world, considering this guy was over 5,000 years old. Strangely enough, Otzi was also covered in tattoos, which were put onto his body by making cuts into the skin with a needle and then being marked with charcoal. It is thought that these tattoos actually mark out acupuncture points, which would mean the practice was around for almost 2,000 years earlier than previously thought. All of this was learned from a man who bled to death 5,000 years ago, roaming around the mountaintops of Austria.
So a little bit about Otzi the Iceman. He was 5'3", about 1.6 meters. He weighed 110 pounds, or about 50 kilograms. He had brown eyes. He had brown hair. He was lactose intolerant, which if you saw yesterday's episode, isn't a surprise. He had a genetic predisposition for an increased risk for coronary heart disease. Essentially, he had arteriosclerosis. His arteries were hardening, which was an amazing discovery at the time because they were like, oh, the Western diet isn't the only thing that causes heart disease.
That was our list of the top 10 mysterious things found frozen in ice. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a video in the future, and hit the like button too so we hit the golden like of 1,000. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace!